Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Oxnard Community Services Public Safety and Housing Development Committee for May 13th, 2025. Thank you for joining us this late. Madam Clerk, can we have the roll call and followed by the, also the posting of the agenda, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance?
Chair MacArthur.
Here.
Committee Member Perallo. Committee Member Bettis.
Here.
The agenda for this meeting was posted in the kiosk at City Hall, the Oxnard Public Library, our city administrative offices, and on the city's website on Tuesday, May 6th. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilwoman, do you want to lead us in the pledge? Yeah.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Just want to make a brief announcement as well on, for report, I think it's D2 from the Housing Department. It's the acquisition of the unimproved real property located at 5230 Cypress Road and 5208 Cypress Road. We're pulling that from the agenda. And so we'll go to the next item in the agenda. That's for public comments not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers on this item?
Chair MacArthur and committee members, we do not have any public speakers in person or virtually for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll then move to the consent agenda. And the only item I see there is the approval of the minutes for the March 25, 2025, and April 8th, and the 22nd, 2025 Community Service Public Safety Housing Development Committee meeting. Do any members have any questions or comments on this item?
No questions.
Unless someone has a change or request or addition, I'll move the recommended action.
I'll second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers on this item?
Chair MacArthur, there are no public speakers virtually or in person for the information and consent agenda.
Thank you. I call for the vote.
Committee Member Bettis.
Yes.
Committee Member Perallo.
Yes.
Chair MacArthur.
Yes.
And the motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to the next item in the agenda. This is D1 from the Community Development Department. Subject, private parking ordinance. The recommended action is that the Community Service Public Safety Housing Development Committee recommend that the City Council adopt a private parking ordinance that would add Division 3 to Article, 4? Chapter 8 of the Oxnard City Code, including Code Section 8-61.1 to 8-61.11. And Mr. Jeff Pingill is here to answer any questions. Any committee members have any questions of staff on this particular item?
I just wanted to clarify that I did get 2 letters ex parte from public.
I think we'll go through with them. I think we've got a couple speakers on this item as well. We'll start with Mr. Bob Power. Thank you, Mr. Power.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, thank you. First, thank all of you, thank staff for working so hard on this ordinance. And just to introduce myself, I'm the president owner of Park Smart, and we are based in the Bay Area. And we specialize in putting parking programs together for downtowns, cities, and shopping centers. And one of the big things that, we want to make sure that customers always have a pleasurable parking experience. Parking is so important to downtowns and shopping centers. It's so important to have turnover of parking spaces. If a customer comes down, they can't find a spot right for the Nike store or right for the coffee shop that they're going to, they have a bad experience and they may not come back. And that trickles down the economy. If they don't come back, it hurts property values, it hurts city tax dollars, and it hurts customer confidence. So that's basically what our company does, is we put parking programs together to create better turnover of parking spaces. And I'm going to let Danny talk to us for a minute about
Sure.
what's going on at Bay Street and why we have asked for this city ordinance. And then your review questions, we can give you, answer questions you have on the state AB 451 that went into law in 2016. Go ahead, Danny.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for your time, and thank you, Bob. So we've been working with Center Cal Properties that own some properties in the Bay Area. They also own the collection, which is how we found Oxnard. And some of the issues they were looking to address were really, like Bob mentioned, around the prime spaces that they have metered on that property, creating the turnover that we need. And like Bob mentioned, those really affect the success of the business, the property in general, and the surrounding area. Historically, there's only been a couple options that private property owners have to enforce parking. They can either get the police department involved. A lot of police departments are understaffed or unwilling to do that. They don't really see that as something that they want to get involved with. And the other option is just to tow parking violators. Towing isn't a really effective method of enforcement for property owners, and it leaves whoever the owner of the vehicle is stranded. They're subject to impound fees. It's very cost prohibitive, and it's a negative experience for everyone. So what AB 451 did with the vehicle code was allowed cities and counties to create a local ordinance tailored to the way they want to see parking enforced on private properties. And that's what we have the opportunity to do with this ordinance. It allows us to follow a set guidelines for what we need to do as a parking operator and how we can then operate on private property. Some of those guidelines include required signage, set fine amounts, and the dispute process that we need to have. And like Bob mentioned, we're happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much. We also, you were right on time. Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any other speakers on this item?
Chair MacArthur, we do not have any additional speakers in person or virtually for this item. Thank you.
We did receive 2 letters of support for this item from Andy Conley, from the West Ventura County Business Alliance, as well as from PSC Security by Mr. Shaw Moada, who provides private parking services to the collection at River Park. So he wrote in as well and proposed, actually in support of this item. You know, if we can get into the discussion of it, I'm certainly in support of it. I think it's critical for the success of our retail districts here in the city for shopping centers. It provides the ability for private property owners to enforce parking, as Mr. Power and Danny stated, enforcing parking regulations fairly and consistently, which I think is absolutely essential for maintaining customer access, reducing congestion, and supporting local businesses. And coming from policing, I know that this is something that without this ordinance, property owners heavily rely on police to respond and tow away vehicles sometimes. So I think this is a tool that is absolutely needed. So I'm in support of that. So I make a recommendation to move this item as recommended. I don't know if there is a second, and we can get into discussion of it. I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
support the aid, but I have several questions.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. We'll get into the question of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I have about 5 questions.
Sounds
as
good.
well.
Okay.
Thank you.
The staff is here, as well as Mr. Powers here. If you can come on up, sir, and I think
Yeah.
the committee members have some questions. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
and
Mr.
if
Parlow.
any, if
I'm sorry,
any,
go ahead.
yeah, if
We'll
any
listen.
staff want to also provide insight if necessary as well. My questions are really mostly just so that the public is informed about what process and procedure would be in place. My first question is really around the cost. I know that there's a cost for the registration fee. I believe it's an hourly fee, and just wanted to get clarity on what that amount would be.
Yes, thank you, Chair MacArthur, committee members, Jeff Pengelly, Community Development Director. The fee is only a fee for service for the planning department staff or community development staff that would process applications, reviewing them for completeness and consistency with this ordinance. That would be paid by the applicants, the shopping centers themselves. And again, we're just trying to recover costs. There's no ongoing cost. And again, the city is not involved in the collection. We don't have any stake in the parking citations or the appeals process whatsoever.
Do we have an estimate amount of what that hourly fee would be?
So the hourly rate for planning is about $134 an hour. So ultimately it would depend upon the amount of time and any back and forth that would occur between city staff and the applicant team in terms of the actual review. We would expect this would take a few hours of staff time. So again, it would just vary based on application.
Great, thank you. And then my next following questions are really around just instruction for the public. Really, one is just who is the private parking enforcement operator? My second question is, will people be given a warning in advance? Really mostly thinking about folks that have their cars towed. And will they be notified? Will they be given a warning prior to towing? Say they, violate the parking ordinance, will they be giving a warning in advance before towing? And my last question is, will there be information on where they can go to pick up their car, should their car be impounded, and how will that information be publicized?
So towing is not directly, towing is an option that they have now. And the requirements for posting where the tow operator is, where to retrieve your vehicle, none of that would change for this ordinance. This ordinance allows simply the ability for them to hire a third-party vendor to issue parking citations that are, we call them mail-in citations. And it spells out the appeals procedure for the citations and a mediation arbitration procedure. Again, the city's not involved in any of that. So the towing is the same as it would be today under vehicle code and other standards, and that wouldn't be changed by this ordinance.
Just a quick follow-up, would there be a location or information assigned that'll say, if your car is towed, this is who you can contact to locate your vehicle?
Yeah, that would still be the case. And one of the things we'll review as part of the application is all of the signage that pertains to this ordinance. That would include any towing operators signage, even though that's still allowed currently and that signage is required to be in place. We would review that as part of the overall parking review and signage review that's spelled out in this ordinance.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Perlow?
Yes, will there be notification on private parking lots? A lot of residents may not know their private parking lots.
Yeah, there's a requirement for signage, specific size and locations for those signage that's spelled out in the ordinance and gives the indication of what the, fair warning, there are restricted hours, et cetera. And we will review that signage, the placement, the parking layout, and the proposed signage as part of the application process.
I appreciate that, and I appreciated what you said about standard. So the information, if there is going to be an interaction between the car owner and whoever is involved with giving a citation, that will be a standard sign, standard writing. Is it going to be bilingual? Is it going to be in the same place, the same site in each parking lot? I know the locations are different, but it's going to be 7 feet off the ground, 4x3 or 2x8 or what?
The size of the sign, minimum sizes are spelled out in the ordinance, but there's a lot of flexibility on, where we think the signs should be going and the operator thinks the sign should be placed. They would present that plan to us and we would review that. You make a good point about bilingual. Again, those details haven't been worked out yet. That would be part of our review for the signage plan as part of the application process. If they do receive a citation, obviously there's information on the citation about what to do and who to contact. And I would just want to point out that there is a language in the ordinance that says the citation cannot resemble a City of Oxnard citation, cannot have the city logo. It says this citation is issued by and the name of the private vendor or operator. And it says also at the bottom, this is not issued by the City of Oxnard. Again, we don't want to have our Oxnard Police Department being given calls for these kind of things. We want it to be as clear as possible, and we will have that same mindset when we review the signage plan for the parking lot.
As they often say, the best of intentions sometimes go sideways. With respect to if there is, and I appreciate your report, dispute process, there is no way in your mind that the City of Oxnard is going to get drug into a dispute process?
Not willingly. We're out of the process. We would review the dispute resolution plan set forth by the operator as part of their application process. There's an arbitration provision. We would want information about who their arbitrator is, and there's some provisions in the ordinance, indicating their training and that they can't be neither the parking citation workers or the arbitrators can have any kind of an incentive based on, issuing or number of fines, or their pay can't be pegged to the fine values that they implement or arbitrate against in this case. So we will review all that as part of the application process.
Thank you. Two more areas. One, it's a fairly lucrative position to be a tow truck operator with a contract with the city. Will these contracts be separate contracts with the tow trucks with the operators of these parking lots so that we don't have any commingling? People might make an assumption the city's, helping the tow truck people that get the contract with the city. I can see that being a dispute. I can see people right now at the podium raising Cain about that.
Yeah, there's no commingling of city contracts for tow services with private parking lot operators. It would be the same contracts that they have in place today for towing operations. You may see the signage in some private parking lots saying vehicles may be towed and the name of the tow company. That's all a private contract between that property owner and the towing company. And somebody could erroneously assume that it has to do with the city of Oxnard, but we would take all steps to make sure the signage and everything else, like the citations, make it very clear that the city of Oxnard is not the one issuing the citation or involved in the towing.
I appreciate the promptness for answering the questions. One last question. Councilmember Perez asked the question about the fee to initiate the program. This is a one-time fee when the program starts, or is it a yearly fee?
It's an application fee, the staff time to review the initial application. If their parking operations do not change, they add parking meters, or they change some other facet of their operation that's governed by the plan that they submit to us. If they change signage, or if we implement a change to signage for different fonts or appearance or whatever city standards for aesthetics that we want for those signs, they would have to change them at our request within 6 months. But generally, we don't anticipate doing that. We want them to set up a plan that we approve. And then as long as they follow that plan, they won't have any further interaction with us. We do retain the right to inspect, and there could be some complaints that come to us if somebody is not operating according to the plan. And we have the right to revoke the permit if an operator is not following the prescribed plan that they submitted.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pangeli. Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Mayor, I do have two
Absolutely, go ahead.
follow-up questions, if that's okay. I just wanted to clarify for the public, really around, it's located on page 23 under section 8-61.9, prohibited business practices, item B. It says that no person shall report or threaten to report an unpaid notice of parking charge to a credit bureau. Just wanting to get some clarity, at least share some information on that for the public regarding any fees, unpaid fees that wouldn't require a notification to collections.
Yeah, the only way this section, prohibited business practices, 8-61.9 in the proposed ordinance, spells out that things that they cannot do, such as installing an immobilization device and reporting or threatening to report somebody if they do not pay their parking citation to a credit bureau or a collection agency. They can, however, do that if ordered by a court through judicial action, small claims or other judicial action. They can then report it to a credit bureau, but they have to take those adjudication steps first. And they also cannot report or threaten to report to the Department of Motor Vehicles as a way to gain payment for their citations.
Great, thank you for clarifying that. My last question is really around what organizations have expressed support or businesses locally. I know we received a few letters of support as well, but I know I was given a great presentation on some of the organizations that are supportive, and just wanting to share for the public which entities or groups have shared opposition and what their stance has been.
opposition, I'm not aware of any opposition that's been expressed. I'm sure there might be some out there, but I'm not aware of it. There was letters of support, as you indicated earlier, West Ventura County Business Alliance, and another letter of support. I can't remember who that was from. This was initiated by Center Cal, the collection shopping center, to be honest, and we looked at their request. It took us some time to get some staff time available to digest it, and we agreed it was a business-friendly, way to encourage these larger shopping center owners, not exclusively the collection, to make the best use of their parking spaces to serve their customers. And so we are supportive of that, and we are thereby bringing this in front of the committee and to council. But I do want to point out it's not exclusively for the collection. It's citywide, but there is a threshold that it's for commercial serving businesses, ostensibly retail, and it's for larger parking lots of 200 spaces or more, so that every corner, we don't want every little shopping center in the city applying because the process can be quite cumbersome. Until we get a few of the larger shopping centers underway and see how it works for the intended purpose, we may or may not open it up to smaller size shopping centers. But the bigger problem is the larger shopping centers that have a more pressing need for this kind of an ordinance.
Would the Center Point Mall be included in this, or obviously this is a citywide ordinance, but they would have the option to opt in as well?
That's correct. It's purely voluntary. It just opens the door for them to follow the procedure, find a qualified vendor to provide this service and submit to the city. We anticipated, obviously, the collection, Seabridge Shopping Center, Center Point Mall, Pleasant Valley Plaza perhaps is another one, shopping at the Rose. There are a handful of shopping centers around the city that would be a good candidate for this if they so choose.
Great, thank you. Those are all of my questions.
Go ahead, Ms. Pardo.
I see code enforcement here. With respect to the larger lots where they've had car washes, this past Sunday, it's not 200 spaces, but the building that the city owns on the corner of Channel Islands and Savers Road was like Car Wash Central. It was packed with people washing cars. Would this prevent people from paying a fee if they wanted to wash cars on a private parking lot with this thing, with the owner of the parking lot?
Well, there's a
Would it be somewhat
there's a
of
few
a-
layers to that question. So if an owner of a private parking lot wanted to allow car wash vendors to operate, they would need to ensure the car wash vendors are properly licensed and follow proper procedures for those car washes, complying with stormwater quality requirements and other things. That being the case, there's nothing that would necessarily prohibit, so long as they're not violating any zoning or other restrictions and not interfering with businesses, blocking driveways, things like that. This ordinance, on the converse, would allow some shopping center that's having repetitive problems with people who aren't customers using their parking lot. They could use a private company, follow this procedure outlined in this ordinance, and use that to help mitigate some of these unwanted visitors to their parking lots.
Thank you very much. It sounds like, thank you. That's everything.
Thank you. I just, my position, I'm supportive of it. I think this is a very balanced solution. I think this ordinance provides help to businesses, certainly to customers and visitors alike. One of the things along the lines of what Mr. Pardo said, I would certainly like to recommend that before the implementation of it is maybe some signage, whether it be a digital sign advising, because I think those are likely to be affected are probably the employees themselves, rather than taking up customer parking right in the front. So maybe a signage, a digital sign advising them that enforcement will take place on such and such date before implementation. Also, I know the collection is asking for, but maybe have them directly communicate with those managers of those businesses to let them know that, hey, please advise your employees who are likely the ones to receive these citations that on such date this is going to be implemented, and we'll give a warning and then followed by the enforcement. So that it's quite it's very reasonable. I think it's a reasonable approach to let everybody know it's coming. But I think this is a very balanced approach to help out businesses, the retail community, visitors, and customers alike. So I know we have a motion, a second. Is there any other questions? No? Okay. Madam Clerk, there are no other callers or speakers? I'll
No,
call for the vote.
Mayor, we don't have any additional speakers for this item, in person or virtually. Thank you. Chair MacArthur,
Yes.
Committee Member Perala,
Yes.
Committee Member Bettis,
Yes.
and the motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, staff. And Tracy, thank you very much. I'm sorry, Stacy, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Power. We'll move to the next item in the agenda. This is item D3. This is from the Cultural and Community Services Department. The subject is the Hueneme After School Education Safety Agreement. The recommendation is that the Community Services, Public Safety, Housing Development Committee recommend that council approve and authorize the mayor to execute the partnership agreement and memorandum of understanding with the Hueneme Elementary School District for the city of Oxnard to receive the total amount of $7,408,328 to provide services under the California After School Education and Safety Program at 10 Hueneme Elementary School District schools during fiscal year 25-26, also fiscal year 26-27 and fiscal year 27-28. And I know Renee is here to answer any questions we may have of her. Are there any questions of staff on this particular item? Or any speakers on this item, Madam Clerk?
Chair MacArthur, we do not have any speakers in person or virtually for this item. Thank you.
Any questions on staff on this item? Go ahead, Mr. Perla. We'll start with you.
I understand the need for this. It is not a babysitting need. There is an actual major brainchild of, let's get something done. But a specific question, English language learning. We have individuals that speak Spanish, and we have individuals that speak Mixteco, and we have individuals that speak other languages. How do we let the parents and the council or the school district or the taxpayers, whichever group we want to say, that there's something coming of this language treaty? Because in the past, I've asked questions about this. We need to have a translator for Mixteco to Spanish, and then hopefully they can somehow get it across, and we're trying to teach English. It has not been, in my mind, from the high school or the Oxnard Elementary School, shown to me that you can prove something. I watched the previous meeting, and one of our council members, Mr. Starr, raises his hands a lot, and he, I'd like to see something in data. Maybe by the time it goes to the city council, somebody can give me an answer like that, because I will ask that question again. If you have an answer now, I'll take it, but I will be asking that question again.
So good evening, Chair MacArthur, committee members, Renee Rakestraw, Assistant Director for Culture and Community Services. Just to clarify your question, I want to ensure that I understand it properly. You're asking what our ELL component is to the after-school program?
Both of these in your PowerPoint presentation, English language help,
Yes.
That's what I'm asking. I'm not asking the specifics of the program. I want to know, how do you judge it?
Yes. I'm going to go ahead and bring up Esteban Melchor, who's our supervisor over the Hueneme after-school program.
And before someone answers, I just want to share. Before I got on the council, I was involved as a member of the public with another school district, the Rio School District. And the consultants that they would hire, each year they would hire a different consultant. And there was never a basis for the previous work that the consultants had done so that the new consultant knew where he had these kids and where he was going to take them. Used to drive me nuts, and the board didn't really ask that many questions about it. I never wanted to be on a school board, and I'm not. But on this, where I have an opportunity to ask, I'm going to ask.
Good evening, Chair MacArthur, committee members. Esteban Melchor, Recreation Supervisor. I oversee the after-school program in partnership with the Hueneme Elementary School District. And so the district is in charge of all curriculum that we present or that we offer at our after-school programs. And so we do have an English language component where everything, so English is obviously encouraged, and I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
And I apologize for my lack of being able to explain it well enough. If I am going to be going to school and I don't speak English,
Right.
and we're hoping that somebody learns a little bit at least of English by the
Right.
time this is done and the $7 million is spent, how do we decide where they are and where they reach, especially when it's not just simply going from English to Spanish?
Right.
We have another wild card, Mixteco, and other indigenous languages.
Right. So I believe that all curriculum is presented in English and in Spanish when possible. The Mixteco component, we do have one school where we focus, where Haycox Elementary being our largest Mixteco population, and I believe that they do have offices, or they have counselors who speak Mixteco at that school site, and they're based out of that school site.
Are they able to somehow get a little bit of English across?
I believe so. I've seen a lot of students who start off the school year knowing very little to no English at all. And throughout the school year, we do see some improvement in their
Okay,
English language ability.
Just a heads up, I am going to be asking this when it comes to council. So
Okay.
thank you very much for, and I apologize for not explaining it as clearly as it probably should have been.
All right.
Thank you for taking a shot.
Thank you.
Council member, to get clarity, the question that you're asking though is about, is there a marker or a grade for a level that must be reached? So from the
Not
ACES,
necessarily must. Is there some way? I
You mean
we
to
can find
measure, council member, you mean, is there a way for us throughout, by the end of this program, to measure the progress?
out. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll come back with a
Okay.
response.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Pardo. That's what I understood, some sort of measurable. Councilwoman Perez, anything?
No comments, really just wanted to express gratitude to the staff. I know serving over 2,700 youth in Oxnard is really important, as mentioned in the background of the report, really around prevention and making sure that there are resources for young people to experience after school. There's tons of research out there that really highlights why it's important to continue to invest in after-school programs, and so really wanted to thank Esteban and all of the team that continues to lead the work in managing multiple sites at one time. And, you know, just highlighting that there are over 1,000 volunteer hours, I'm sure, plus. So really just thankful for the thorough overview and presentation deck that you provided on what type of opportunities are available for young people to participate in. Other areas that help throughout the city, whether it's our coastal cleanups, and other important opportunities that are involved locally. And I think it's important as well to just give credit where credit is due. And it's important to highlight that the city is investing in young people at the educational level, whether it is with these partnerships that we have with the school district to ensure that we're adding capacity to the services that are much needed across our school district and across the sites throughout our community. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the only comment I have is, I'm certainly a big supporter of this, just for all the reasons that the councilwoman explained, to certainly close the achievement gap of students. But one of the things is having conversations with both Dr. DeGenna and also the superintendent at Hueneme. One of the things is I think we just have to strive to utilize the money that's been appropriate. I know that's been a challenge, and no one likes giving money back. So that's just, I think, a challenge for us. I know getting staff sometimes is difficult, but the only thing I think I would ask is to make sure that we aggressively look to properly staff, employ people, or look to aggressively either raise what we're paying some of these after-school workers, or leads, for example, or maybe even more lead positions to be able to exhaust the money that we have, as opposed to giving money back. Because I know we certainly don't want to do that. I know the superintendents have met with me personally and don't want to see that happen as well. So that's all. I just recommend that if we can possibly look to aggressively utilize all the money that's been allocated for this program.
And I can speak a bit on that. During COVID, you know, there was a transition for the world, let alone our after-school program. And so as we transition from in-classroom setting to virtual components, there was a dynamic change of our offerings. In the midst of COVID and coming out of COVID, hiring was a challenge, and that's where majority of our costs are consumed. Currently, with the Hueneme after-school program, all 13 full-time positions are filled, and our current extra help is filled at 85%. That's our 18
Wonderful.
to 24-year-olds on average in there, so that turnover is more frequent, going off to college, going off to school, trade school, getting a job. So that 85% actually sits pretty well. But we're completely filled in the full-time positions at that point. It took us some time to recover from COVID, but this year we've been able to get to that finish line with this program.
That's wonderful. Great. Okay. That's the only comment I have. Yes, sir, Mr. Parvo, go ahead.
Ms. Rexha, are all the people that work with these children, they're all background checked? They go through the police? Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I appreciated that being included as well. There's, just the list of regulations, and I believe it's located on fingerprints as well is required. Child abuse reporting is also required, which is, something that is important for us to continue to monitor and ensure.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And if there are no native speakers on this item, can I get a motion from a committee member on this?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Committee Member Bettis?
Yes.
Committee Member Perallo? Chair MacArthur?
Yes,
And the motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
thank you. We'll go to the next item on the agenda. This is D4, also from the Culture and Community Services Department. Subject Oxnard After School Education Safety Agreement. Recommendation is that the Community Services Public Safety Housing Development Committee recommend that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute a one-year agreement with the Oxnard School District for the city to receive an amount not to exceed $4,470,000 to operate the after-school education and safety program with a city match of $130,000 of in-kind services, very similar to Wainimi. Any speakers on this item, Madam Clerk?
Chair MacArthur and committee members, we do not have any public speakers in person or virtually for this item. Thank you.
Any questions on staff or comments before we get into discussion, anything different from Wainimi? Yes, sir, Mr. Pearl, go ahead.
Just a general comment. The Wainimi was 2,700 children at 10 sites, 7.4 million. The Oxnard one is 2,200 at 20 sites, double the number of sites at 4.4 million. Is there a rationale for these kids have to be split up into twice as many sites?
So the Oxnard School District does have more schools in their school districts than the Wainimi School District. So we have 10 school sites at the Wainimi School District, 20 school sites at the Oxnard School District. Our programs are not exactly identical from one to the other, so the costs differ from one to the other. Wainimi is a 3-year contract, Oxnard is a 1-year contract. We do have the after-school component and ELOP in both programs. So there's just a little bit different look between the way they're both set up.
In this day and age when parents can move kids from district to district and provided they're willing to take them, if I was a parent, would I want to go to the Wainimi or the Oxnard system?
That would be a school district decision.
If I was a parent and I had my chance to go into the Wainimi School District or go to the Oxnard School District, in your opinion, or some staff member professional opinion, which one does the better job for the children?
Are you
And-
pinning me between the two programs?
Well, luckily for me, I don't have kids, luckily for me. But if I was a parent, I would ask that question.
I'm taking notes. Which
I would
one?
ask that question. And I will assure you, even representing District 1, I'm going to have people in District 1 ask me that question.
We have two very quality programs that I can easily stand by and say these are the values of Wainimi School Program and Oxnard After School Program. They both have their both specialties in how it's executed, but well-run programs at both.
Okay. And again, I appreciate that. And again, that's why the measurement of how the program works out for the parents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one question. It's really around the enrichment program types. There are arts, robotics, sports, and I know that there is an increase of pathways to STEM and robotics. I know myself and the mayor had the opportunity to attend the robotics event in partnership with the port, and just curious what sites across the district have offer robotics, and are there competitions that happen locally? Just curious about that, because I know that there has been an increase in interest of pathways into robotics specifically.
Let me call up our supervisor for this after-school program, Donnelly Perez.
Good evening, Chairman MacArthur, committee
Good evening.
members. Donnelly Perez, Recreation Supervisor. When it comes to the robotics, it varies based off of the schools, but that is part of an enrichment that is offered through a service provider that the district also contracts. So it varies based off of school. But there are several robotics classes, and I'm not too sure if there's maybe a confusion between the districts.
Okay.
Do we know which schools offer robotics?
So as I mentioned, there's another service provider that could potentially offer that. I know of one, Parker Anderson, that tends to have like a robotics component, but I'm not fully aware of a robotics component within the Oxnard School District.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking of geography, where robotics would be placed, whether we have opportunities such as that in the South End. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And just my question too, just like with Wanimi, how's the staffing looking like? I know that that's been an issue. Like, as I mentioned, I met with Dr. Walker and Dr. DeGen. I know you addressed with Wanimi. How's the staffing looking? I know Dr. DeGen expressed that to me. We just don't want to give money back.
So we're getting closer to the finish line with our Oxnard after-school program. Being double the sites, we need double the staffing. So to give you an idea of what staffing looks like at each site, we have one site leader and anywhere from 3 to 5 staff, depending on the ratio that we need there. So with the Oxnard School District, we have a total of 24 full-time positions, and we have 2 vacancies that are left there. So we're getting extremely close. And our extra help, we're at about 75% filled for extra help. So the trend really has improved this fiscal year for us.
Wonderful.
This school year. Yeah,
Well, that's good to hear.
definitely.
Thank you so much for that. Okay. And that's all the question I had. Go ahead, Mr. Palmer.
I appreciate Councilmember Perez asking the question about robotics, and I just want to share this. Recently on National Public Radio, one of the best news agencies, I think, going with NPR, PBS, there was a story about a kid that had very, very limited English, and the parents had extremely limited English, but the kid picked up on the robotic stuff, and currently he's some major player in the field. It is not something that we should avoid exposing kids to. It's an opportunity, and opportunities come, and they don't always come back a second time. So thank you for being involved in the robotics. And I don't know where the story is, but it's on National Public Radio. You can possibly use it as a lesson for somebody to hear it.
Yeah. Thank you. If there are no speakers on this item, we'll move to entertain a motion on this.
I'll move the recommended action.
I'll second.
We have first and a second, Madam Clerk.
Committee Member Bettis,
Yes.
Committee Member Perallo,
Yes.
and Mayor MacArthur.
Yes.
And this motion carries 3-0. And then just for the record, there are no speakers virtually or in person for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Go to item D5, also from the Cultural and Community Services Department. The subject, proposed ordinance revising the Cultural Arts Commission powers and duties. That the Community Services, Public Safety, Housing Development Committee recommend that the City Council adopt an ordinance revising sections 2-131 of the Oxnard City Code related to the Cultural Arts Commission. Are there any speakers on this particular item, Madam Clerk?
Chair MacArthur, we do not have any public speakers in person or virtually for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any committee members have questions of staff on this item?
Mrs. Strada, can you address, there were some concerns in the past about the ability to apply for grants, or if there would be a possibility of losing the ability to apply for grants with some changes that we're going to make?
Yes, so good evening, Chair MacArthur and committee members, Julia Estrada, Culture Arts Manager and Culture Arts Commission Liaison. So as it referenced to the grants in the staff report, previously with prior regulations over the arts and public places fee that we have in our development, for our public development, we had a little bit more of a broad spectrum of what those funds could be used for. More recently, there was a revision to those regulations, and we can only utilize those funds for physical art. So it is limited to murals, mosaics, and sculptures. So with that change, the Arts and Public Places grant that we had previously issued through the commission for emerging and legacy artists and arts organizations, we're no longer going to be able to access those funds. And so that is the grant program that's referenced in the staff report that is no longer able to occur with those funds.
Thank you for the explanation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one question. This is relating to the ordinance itself on page 191. I believe it's 2, 3, 4, 5, line number 5. It says, whereas the CAC has struggled with membership retention in recent years due to this confusion resulting in meeting cancellation and project delays. Just curious on what if you don't mind sharing an overview of what that's been like and any areas of remediating some of these efforts.
Sure. So when what we have found is when we have people who are interested sitting on the commission and have asked questions, and we've sat down with current and potential members, they look over the powers and duties, and they were confused of really what it was. There was a lot of very broad terms, and so the purpose of this is to streamline that language, make it clearer for those who are interested in serving on the commission and those currently serving to know what exactly it is that they're to accomplish. And some of the language that did carry over from a previous council committee into a commission role was confusing for a lot of them on what does this mean? How is it that that a commission is going to achieve this? And so because that was a common comment that we were receiving in conversations with the current commission, they felt that we should bring this up and we should look at it and see is there a way that we can actually clean it up and make it to what we are actually accomplishing and what we're working towards. And so that is why they formed the ad hoc committee that reviewed the very long list of powers and duties, and were able to essentially cut it in half and make it clearer and give them a clearer mission as a commission.
Great, that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Estrada. Thank you very much. Okay. Go ahead.
To comment from being a councilman for a while, I do get feedback from people that serve on various CAGs. And one of the big feedbacks is that the council doesn't always approve what they want, or they're not able to get what they want. And the explanation, well, it's a limitation of money, funds, resources, everything else. And it's a hard lesson to swallow. And it's a hard lesson to learn when you're putting in as much time as these people do on these commissions. And I don't envy your position, because a lot of people take these things very, very seriously, and they expect to see something. So, no fault of yours.
Yeah, I appreciate the work, Julie. Thank you very much, because we certainly want to empower these committees to do work, and we want to support them as much as possible, for sure. Okay. No speakers?
Mayor, Chair MacArthur, we do not have any public speakers in person or virtually for this item. Thank you.
That's good. What's the desire of this committee on this
I'll
item?
make a motion to approve.
Sounds good. I can second that.
Chair MacArthur?
Yes.
Committee Member Perallo? Yes. Committee Member Bettis?
Yes.
And this motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Unless a member has an item for